ready for this?
Greetings and salutations, it's Donks here. I thought I'd do a review of the SSS characters. Well, basically a quick review without a spreadsheet of all the classes and who I think is best in each and who is worst, obviously. So I'll start off with tanks, it's the first one on there. So I'm actually going to say in the number one spot, I am going to put Teresh. The reason for that is he's got a lot of utility outside of tanks. If we look at his exclusives, increases the max HP of allies in the back row, which is good for Endless, it's good for PvP situations, lots of different things indeed. His skills creates the war zone, which helps with basically any melee heroes that are involved. Obviously damage reduction, etc. And obviously it's not on here, but he basically, yes it is, he throws someone into the back row, which can be really useful, particularly in story mode if you've got issues where you can't get to the back row and there's like whales throwing out damage, etc. Very, very useful hero. So he's my number one. Joint second, I'm gonna say Panda and Wom are joint second for me. Wom has a little bit more utility outside of tanks. He does some very, very good skills. Where are we? Obviously all the knockdown tank stuff. He's got a taunt as well. He groups up enemies, which is useful as well. And Panda, because he makes all the tank team come together. When he's on a tank team, if he's not on there, you notice the difference for sure. He basically makes everybody ultimate, and he's tanky, he's good. He changed tanks when he come out. He changed how tanks work and made them viable. For that reason, he's up there. Probably next is Zyda. Mine is woefully, woefully low. I haven't really concentrated. She's probably the most tankiest tank. You build her right, she can survive, and she does a lot of damage as well. So she's up there then. Of the elite tanks, I'll probably say the best one is situational. I think all round, Vegnus has basically, he does good knockdowns. He's slightly stronger than the rest, I believe. But situationally, if you just want a general, situationally, Oyster you can use. She's got a stun, which is useful. Inside of PvP still, you still occasionally run into her. And Boar, obviously throws people into throws your enemy back. So if you've got someone rushing at you, he throws them back and they have to start again, which is quite useful. And obviously he does a stun as well, which is good. And he's got various shields. Yeah, he's useful. He's a useful character. Oak, I used to like. He's fallen off. I'd say he falls into the bottom category of tanks. Probably top of the bottom category. There's just no reason why you would use him if you've got other tanks. If you've got any of the other tanks, you're not going to use him. Really. And the rest... Langel is obviously the weakest. Hercules is crap. And Kuwait had a brief moment in the sun. I can't remember, he did something, but it soon got sorted out that it's no good anymore. What was it he used to do? See if it's in his kit somewhere. can't remember what it is. Okay. Yeah, but he gains defense and stuff off of enemies. But anyway, he's crap. Don't use him. Next is the Vanguards. Number one. I'm gonna say it was between Barog and Ares. I'm gonna put Ares at the top because I found him very, very useful. His zigzag mechanic, particularly, is very, very good. He's been known to beat Coraxia. I think that's getting fixed though. He's basically got some. I've only got him at EX20 at the moment. He's actually a good target for me to do next, but I'm going to wait and see who comes out. He's got barriers. He's got that rage mechanic that we all know and love. He's just overall very, very good. I use him in a lot of situations as a utility tank. And find he does a lot of damage, particularly like in Endless Battle and other things. I also tried him in, he's quite good as a foil in Disa on the EX levels, zigzagging around the front, and he seems to survive quite well. So anyway, obviously the hunters and whatever else have got to do the damage, but he's a good one to have there up the front. Second, very close second, is Barog. Obviously, we know what he does. He basically goes mental. There's nothing insane about his kit except that he goes mental. And if he's on his own against teams, he can solo them if the situation's right. If he's in his rage state, he just absolutely goes mental. And I've seen him 1 versus 5 people if he's built right. Next, sadly, is Leo. Still very good, still usable, but he's no longer your first pick in the Vanguard. He's probably like the weakest of the three. We all know what he does. He's got a cheat death mechanic, etc., etc. Next is just about Crete. Well, actually, it is Crete because I don't think anybody else. He hasn't got Crete's survivable. I've got some gear off of him. I'll have to look at that. I'll sort that out. Not a lot to say about Crete really. He's there. He's kind of like a tank-ish. But he's not the best tank anyway, so there you go. And then who else you got? Artus and Guan Yu. I'm going to put Artus ahead of Guan Yu, even though he's not an SSS. He's not very good. He falls off very, very early. He starts off, when you start the game, he's okay for you, but it falls off very, very quickly. And less said about Guan Yu, the better. Guy does nothing. He's got some bleed mechanic, which doesn't really work, doesn't really do anything. As a result, I EX10'd him, and I think that's a waste. If I had my time, I just wouldn't invest a single thing into him. I think I EX10'd him before when Barog come out, because I thought that the next Vanguard would have a bleed mechanic because of Barog, but it didn't. And obviously that's all we've got for Vanguards, there's nobody else. So Guan Yu bottoms it out. Now my boys and girls, my favourites. Now obviously I don't have, but Coraxia would be number 1 on this list. If you're lucky enough to have her, she basically speeds up every ultimate, does ridiculous amounts of damage. Can't kill her. You have to kill her about 50,000 times before she dies. So ruling her out of the equation at number 1. This is the age-old debate, but I'm going to go with Dom as my number 1, or number 2, should I say, because of Coraxia. He's just a machine. He does a lot of damage. He's hard to kill until everybody else dies. He's got a lot of displacement skills. He puts down his mark, so basically picks a percentage extra of everybody's crit damage in the next 5 seconds after that mark goes down. And basically, he's a beast. He smashes. Next is my boy Rick. Rick is great. He's got his soul swords. That's why you always want to use him last after Dom's done his mark. So everybody else does their ultimates, and then he can smash and do extra damage. He's an excellent hero. His skills are just awesome. He was the reason why I started into the assassins in the first place. Obviously EX30 for the extra soul sword, definitely worth it. Dom and Rick and Coaxial, well, you get what you get, but Dom and Rick are definitely worth EX30 in. Next, I am going to say Halentis. Now, hear me out. There is an argument that she's only good in PvP or Hell Arena. Well, she's very good in PvP generally. Her EX30 obviously is Hell Arena only, but I think people rule out that her other skills are also very, very good, despite the fact of the Hell Arena stuff. And her teleportation can be really useful. It's really good in story mode, I found. Really good in certain soul mines. She's good in the Molten Abyss dungeon. Not so good on like the melee ones, like she's not going to do you any favours in Terror Dome. But overall, I just think she's a little bit better than Bailey. And Bailey, obviously, in there. He's okay. He's fallen off a lot. Eventually, he's not going to be needed. But at the moment, I am using 4 assassins with Fiona in PvP. And they're pretty hard to beat, to be fair. Sometimes I'm using Tarish. If Dave does one of his things, I'll put Tarish in there instead of Bailey. But he's still usable. No longer the king, but he's still usable. And then Rakana and Randall, I'm probably going to rate Rakana slightly higher. The only reason I'm going to write, if I can find it, bear with me while I have a look. It'll be in his skills. Attacker's damage, can he use it? Right. I can't see it in there and I can't bother to look, but basically you can use him for ridiculous whale scores, and that's the only reason, because if you don't ult with him, he generates extra damage for everybody else, which is kind of, it's a fiddly one, but that slightly puts him above Randall in Assassins. Moving on to Hunters, everybody knows they're my favourite. I'm going to say, from my experience, Rebecca is the queen. She's, obviously, as you say, I've only exclusive 20'd her. But just she pumps out some damage. I've seen she does a little bit extra. She managed to get me a speed run in Cinzaro. Someone pointed out that if you put her in Cinzaro, she does massive damage to the boss there. I'm not going to dwell on Hunters too much. Everybody knows they're not my favourite, but I'd say she's number 1. Rosaris is number 2 for her fear mechanic, etc. She's pretty awesome if you like Hunters. Then moving down, I'm probably going to say the next one on the list would be Emma. She's probably the 3rd best hunter at the moment. Very good early game. Well, when the game first come out, but she's dropped off a bit. She's, where are we? She does like true damage and stuff, but she can't crit, so that makes it a bit of a hindrance for her. There's no amplifier there. After that, you've got Pregor and Mariami. I'll probably put them in a similar boat. They're kind of like, okay, meh, whatever. And then I'm probably going to put Azina below Taylor and Botmark, because she doesn't really do, she boosts the character, but she doesn't really do an awful lot, doesn't do a lot of damage, isn't particularly great, and yeah, not a massive fan. Botmark and Taylor, I think early in the game, if you're early in the game, Taylor's going to be the one for you. But bot mark later in the game, you're not going to use Taylor anywhere, but you are going to use bot mark in DISA EX3 because you want that defense reduction. So bot mark pips Taylor, I think, overall. But if you're early game, I would probably go for Taylor if you just started like in the last couple of weeks or so. So that's that one. Hunter's done. Support, now it's an interesting category. I'm gonna put Fiona at the top. She's absolutely awesome. She just, words can't say how good she is. She boosts all of your teams, not just assassins. She throws up extra damage too. Well, she throws out shields to everyone. She gives one of your heroes a boost as well. Yeah, blesses with the highest attack with skill cooldown as well. So yeah, there's lots of things she does, which she just works really well in the game and does things that nobody else does. Second, I am going to put Miranda. Miranda has a lot of uses. Her shield is her main thing, and her injection, where she injects 2 people, she's exclusive 30. And increases damage received. She's a stat booster as well and provides excellent shields, which is almost impossible to complete things like Sanzaro without her. So for that reason, she's second. Third would be Masrani, because he's, well, actually I want to join. Third is Masrani and Rez. Masrani, again, he provides shields. He's been slightly power crept, but he is still very useful, even though I haven't built him, so there you go. And Rez, obviously we all know what Rez does. He basically makes people pop off their ultimates massively. If you pair him with someone like Dom or Jaina, or someone who's damage dealer, maybe Rebecca or whatever, whoever's your DPS, he's going to basically hunt and they're just going to smash it. And that's basically how he works. Other than that, Serena's probably next. She's probably one of the best non-SSS characters in the game. Still use her with Coronate with my tanks to make them tankier than tanks than they would be. Tankier than tanks, to make them more tankier, even more tankier. And then you've got Botta. What the hell did they do to her, eh? She's got an ultimate that covers like a square foot. I haven't even geared her, and I just don't even use her. What have I got on her? I've half done her. I've done a couple of vigorous sets, but she needs a rework really. She's not a bad healer. It's just that no one's ever in range for her to touch him, so she's kind of misses the mark all along. Lyrian, if you're brand new to the game, you get Lyrian. Lyrian even. Not terrible. He does do a stun. Some people use him in some PvP comps. Not for me. And Hypnos, I think he had a slight moment in the sun where he could do something or other to someone, but he got fixed. I can't remember what it was, but I think it might have been in PvP he could do something. But it got fixed anyway, so he can't do it. Moving on. Energy. Okay, so you ready for this? I am going to put number 1 to Jaina, because she does ridiculous DPS. If you pair her with Rez, whatever, she just smacks any content designed for energy, hard and fast. The only issue is she's slightly squishy. If she was less squishy, she'd be far and away ahead, but she only just shades it from the Buen Nord. Still an excellent character. He's basically, some of the new characters' kit are kind of playing and messing with what he can do. So his lightning barrier, shield and all of that stuff doesn't work on everybody. He can get trapped and killed a lot easier. And his damage isn't doing as much as some of the newer characters in the game, unfortunately. He's still an excellent character. If you got him day one, he would carry you through so much content in the game. And he's still very much usable, but I use him less and less now in anywhere really, where apart from where energy is required, because obviously he is a key part of an energy team. Next, I'm probably gonna say it's between Luke and Ravenna. I think it depends on your preference. As you can see, my Ravenna's better built because I use her in Cesaro. She's good at killing the spiders, but then so is Luke. So I think it's a toss up. I think Luke's slightly better in PvP. And I think Ravenna is slightly better in PvE content just because of the coverage of what she does. So that's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put them tied in third place. I think Energy need a third hero now to come in, or a new hero to come in. In terms of elites, I'm not going to, there's so many of them. I would probably say that Nadalus is not even as good as Falvia, and probably on a par with Sorietta, pretty similar. But as you can see, I've got him immortal. I don't use him for anything. Falvia's decent. You get her very much early game. She's quite niche. I don't really use her anymore, but she can be good. I think I have used her in Endless because she boosts Jaina's damage slightly. And all the little increments count, but she was just there as a sort of booster rather than for her own merit. Sorietta, you get him early in the game. He's kind of like a hunter, really. He does multi-hit DPS, and he's very good to start with. But he's an elite character, and he's squishy and he dies quick anyway, so there you go. And also I'll bring honourable mention to Omar. He's quite useful for AoE damage if you don't have enough AoE damage, but once you get past about month 2 or 3, you're not going to be using Sorietta, you're not going to be using Omar, you're probably not going to be using Falvia, although you might still be using her. And that's basically it for energy. And lastly, summons. Now, summons is interesting. The new girl, Sif, I think, honestly, she's probably number one because she's the newest thing. She's allowing people to do much damage. She can crit as well, or Pebbles and Bam Bam, or whatever it is, can do it. She's got lots of mechanics. I mean, her kit's like an essay, but she's very good. And she certainly brought summoners up to the next level. I'm going to say second would probably be Dora. She's got a lot of utility. Again, she's one of those with a really strong summon. If she stays out of trouble, she can do good damage. Her summon can. She's pretty good. But I'm going to say she's probably tied with Ampu for second, actually, because Ampu is still doing lots of damage, blowing things up, pretty decent. I'm going to say Dan now actually falls into fourth place. He was the god. He's still very good. I mean, I exclusive 30'd him. He's still very good. He's still needed on the summon team, but he's not the best, and I can do it without him. In fact, if I'm running the combination of Jaina, Rez and 3 summons, I use the other 3 and not Dan now because they do it quicker. Just so you know, even though my other ones are EX20, apart from Dora who's EX30. Skewer's probably down next on the list. She does a bit of damage. The problem with her, as we all know, is if one of them dies, they both die. So that's not very useful. No good in Crimson Abyss and stuff like that, but she's okay. I wouldn't go out of my way to get her. And then obviously you've got your others. Some people swear by Muka. I don't see it. He's not a big deal for me. Senway's still alright. He does some damage. So I'll probably put him next. Oh no, I forgot Savali. Savali probably tags on the end of the SSSs before Senway. She's not great in her own right. She boosts Ampu's damage, which is lovely. But her healing's just not enough, I don't feel. You can get some good accuracy. I know people like her, but I'm not a huge fan of her. And then obviously you've got Senway, as I said, and then Muka and Kalaza, I wouldn't really worry too much about, except for early game until you get the rest. But yeah, they're alright. Kalaza does a little bit more damage, potentially. Muka's more tanky, and that's about it, really. Anyway, that's my thoughts and everything. Let me know what you think in the comments. As usual, I've been Donks, and you've been amazing. See you for the next one.